Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and a puzzle by the wonderful constructor Udukos. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you'll be very familiar with Udukos' name because, well, as well as appearing in episodes like this one, he and Stefan Bura produced a wonderful Sudoku puzzle hunt a few months ago that I know many of you will have tried and enjoyed. Now, since then, I've been looking out for an Udukos puzzle to do on the channel, but he keeps producing puzzles that require the ability to enter 2 digits in a cell, which, as you'll know, is a trouble for our software still. I hope one day we'll be able to do that, and then we will have a back catalogue replete with all kinds of goodies. But until we can do that, we have to steer clear of those most of the time. Now, this one, though, this is just Knight's Move and Killer Sudoku, so there should be no need for double-digit entries, and we should be good to go. And I'll read you the rules properly in a moment. Couple of things to mention first. Firstly, I'd like to thank Lucy Stewart for introducing us to 2 very keen new Sudoku solvers. Let me show you. Here we go. This is Ari and Tiri, short for Aragorn and Tyrion, so 2 of my favourite characters from all of literature, and apparently they really enjoy watching the videos of us solving Sudoku, and you can see they seem to be getting well into it there. They follow the cursor around, and I've no doubt they know exactly what's going on. They probably know more about what's going on than I do, but that tickled me, so I thought you might like to see it. Also, we are closing in on an extraordinary milestone for us. We are very close to 1/3 of a million subscribers on YouTube. So if you've ever watched the channel and you haven't subscribed, please think about hitting the subscribe button and getting us to reach that total. If we reach that total, I think I will have a large gin and tonic, and I sort of feel I will deserve it. Check out what's going on Patreon at the moment. Of course, we have loads of stuff. I've talked about that in the previous few days. I mean, the main thing is this Sudoku puzzle hunt, which we have based on the wonders of the world. And with that, let's get on to today's puzzle. What are the rules? We have normal Sudoku rules apply. In cages, digits must sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage, and digits cannot repeat within a cage. So completely standard Killer Sudoku rules. So this cage here has to, the digits in it have to sum to 23, and you can't repeat a digit in there. And then cells separated by a knight's move in chess cannot contain the same digits. So we're on knight's moves again today. How does that work? Well, let's imagine the central cell of the grid contain a 1. Now, if this was a chess knight, this 1, it could jump to those cells, and therefore none of these yellow cells can contain a 1. Because if they do, these are obviously a chess knight's move apart, and that breaches the rules of this Sudoku puzzle. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video, as always. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking, and I'm very excited about this, because the moment I opened it, I saw, look, there is a 24 cage of 3 cells there. So I get to pencil mark digits in the first couple of seconds of the solve, which is, as you'll know if you've been following for any amount of time, very unusual at the moment. So these have to be 7, 8, and 9. I mean, that might be all I can do, but at least it's made me feel productive. Right, oh, now I can impart my secret, can't I? Let's have a look at box 2. Now, what do the yellow cells add up to? Well, if we look at the finished solution to this puzzle, we'll see all of the digits from 1 to 9 in the yellow cells. Add up those digits, what do you get? You get 45. Well, if I know that these yellow cells add to 45, I can deduce exactly what those cells add up to. It's got to be 45 minus 33. Now, if these squares add up to 12, we can ask questions about what digits have to be in these cells. Now, the one thing I know about making a total of 12 in 4 cells is there must be a 1 and there must be a 2. And we can prove that to ourselves. Let's imagine there was only a 1 and there was no 2. The other 3 digits would have to be 3, 4, 5 as a minimum, and 3 plus 4 plus 5 add up to 12 on their own. So that won't work. So there's definitely 1s and 2s in those squares. Right. Yeah, it looks like there's some sort of theme going on with these U pentominoes going around the grid, doesn't it? This one, 17 in 5 cells has to have 1, 2 and 3 in it. Because again, if we only include 1 and 2 and no 3, the other digits would be 4, 5 and 6, which add up to 15, plus 1 plus 2 is 18. So there is definitely 1, 2 and 3 in here. There's got to be a lot of low digits in this cage. Let's do the same thing at the bottom though with the 1s and 2s. I know those 4 squares have got to include 1 and 2. 19 cage is a little less perfect, isn't it? We know there must be a 1 in a 19 cage. And the way you can work that out quickly is by learning the triangular numbers. So if you learn the triangular numbers, you'll know that the triangular number for 6, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 is 21. So we know that if we were to miss out from 21, a 6-cell 21 cage, if we missed out a 1 from it, the lowest total we could get to with the remaining digits would be 20, which is bigger than 19. There's a knowledge bomb for you. So we know that a 19 cage in 5 cells must contain a 1. Okay. So probably we have to think about this 23 cage then. So the 23 cage, yeah, in fact, let's just do some simple maths on the 23 cage. It's a 6-cell 23 cage. So if it was a 9-cell cage, we know it would contain all of the digits from 1 to 9 and add up to 45. So a 6-cell cage is missing exactly 3 digits that sum up to 45 minus 23, which is 22. Now there are only 2 ways of getting to 22 in 3 cells, and both of them need a 9, so we now know there's no 9 in the 23 cage. So it's either, this cage is either missing 967 or 958. Which means it's definitely got 1, 2, 3 and 4 in it. And 1, 2 and 3 can't go there. Oh, I see. This is lovely. Absolutely lovely. Right, okay. So, let me highlight some, I'm going to colour in some cells. First chance today. Now, this little pattern here is interesting. Let's ask the question, is it possible for either of these orange squares to be a 1 or a 2? Let's try it. If this is a 1, we now can't put a 1 in any of those squares because of the knight's move constraint. If we try the 1 here instead, we can't put 1 here, we can't put 1 here because it's in the same cage, and these are a knight's move away from this 1. So that doesn't work either. But we know there must be, so we know we can't put 1 in either of these squares. And of course the logic works exactly the same with 2. If we put 2 here, it rules 2 out of all of those instantly. If we put 2 here, it rules 2 out of those and those 2. These 2 because of the knight's move, these 2 because of the can't repeat digits in a cage rule. So we can actually say, given that we know there's got to be a 1 and a 2 in the 23 cage, and the 1 and the 2 can't go there, and they can't go there because they're in the 17 cage, they have to go here. So they are not there. And we also know, because we know that there's a 3 in the 23 cage, and it's not here now, there's a 3 in one of those 2 cells. Oh, this is gorgeous. This is just so clever. Every time one of these really gifted constructors gets their hands on, one of these classic rule sets, I must have solved 1,000 or more knight's move Sudokus in my life. But when they're in the hands of really outstanding constructors, you get to see new stuff. Look at these 3s here. So these 3s can't go in there for the reasons we've talked about. This one sees that one by Sudoku, that one by Knight's Move. This one sees both of those by Knight's Move. So now the 3 has to go in the 33 cage. Now once there's a 3 in a 5-cell 33 cage, the other 4 digits have to add to 30, and they've got to be 6, 7, 8 and 9. Which means those 2 squares are a 4-5 pair. Now, what does that mean? There has to... I've understood what it means. This 23 cage now, remember, it definitely has a 4 in it. Now there's a 4 in one of those 2 squares. So there's no 4 in these 2 squares. So there's a 4 in one of those 2 squares. Now let's see if that affects the 17 cage, and it does. Because now this 17 cage cannot be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 7. So there's only one other way it will work, and that's with 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6. It's just beautiful. It really, to me anyway, I appreciate not everybody, might have the same taste buds, but it is just beautiful. This is 4, 7. Well, yeah, this is 4, 7, 8, 9. We know the 4s aren't there. And we now know there's no... Yes, now we know there's no 5 in the 23 cage. If there's no 5 in the 23 cage, we know there's no 9 in it, so it's also missing 8. So there is no 8 in it. And there's definitely no 9 in it. So this is a 4-7 pair. Oh, this is an 8-9 pair. And these 2 squares now must be the other digits that are not 5, 8 and 9. So they are 3 and 6. Get rid of the 4 from those 2 squares and take stock. This square can't be a 7, 8 or a 9, because if it is, it rules that digit out of all 3 of those squares. This one because of the Knight's Move, so we can reduce this one down to just 3 or 6. I'm going to get rid of the colouring, actually, if you don't mind. That keeps grabbing my attention. I'm not sure it should anymore. Okay, so what do we do now? I have noticed we haven't got a digit yet. Okay, you're quite right. If that's your comment about, the fact that I've got lots of pencil marks and no digits, you are quite right. I don't... what do I do? This square is weak. This square sees 1, 2, 4, 5 because of the Knight's Move to that one. And it sees 7, 8, 9 in its box. So this is a 3 or a 6. This is quite interesting. So now let's have a look along row 3 of the grid, where we've effectively... Well, we've got those 4 digits approximately placed. We've got to place 4, 5, 7, 8 and 9 in the balance. Well, this square can't be 7, 8 and 9. So that's 4 or 5, which means these squares are 7, 8 or 9. Right, so now I see this square, and I'm noticing this square and this square are mirrors of one another. How do we know this? Well, let's imagine this was 9. What's its effect on this domino? It's ruling 9 out of both of the squares because of the Knight's Move constraint. If it's 8, it rules 8 out of both of these squares. So one of the digits 9 and 8 is not in this domino and therefore must be in this domino. Which is actually probably something that I will take any excuse to colour. Let's make the other 8 and 9 green. So we shall try and keep track of 8s and 9s. There's a 7 in one of those squares now, so there's no 7 here. Yeah, I can't quite do any trick. This square actually does see 3 and 6, doesn't it? Because it sees that one by Knight's Move and that one by Sudoku. So that square is 7, 8 or 9. I feel like I've come to a bit of a grinding halt. Now, something I have learnt from the comments that we get on this channel from time to time, the majority of which are absolutely wonderful and really, make Mark and I very proud of what this channel is. But one or two do stick in our craws occasionally. And some people would like to point out that when I get stuck on a puzzle, often my cursor is exactly where it needs to be in order to get myself unstuck. So then I just wondered about this square, which is where my cursor is, and this square is in fact quite restricted. Not very restricted, but quite restricted, because whatever goes in this square can't go in any of those squares, look. Because if this was a 1, for example, it's obviously ruling 1 out of both of those squares. Effectively, this square sees all of those, but it also sees all of these. So actually, what can we put in this square? It can't be 1, 2. It can be 3. Can't be 4, 5. It can be 6 and can't be 7, 8 or 9. So a thank you to those of you who enjoy pointing out our faults. This square can only be 3 or 6. Which obviously gives us a pair there. I have seen that, but I can't really see what that does. It also means that whatever goes in the central cell gets pushed into the U pentomino in box 6 and box 8. Which I'm not sure that matters. I mean, it would be really nice if it was a 3, because then locking a 3 in there forces this to be 3, 6, 7, 8 or 9. But if this is a 6, I don't think it's the same. If there's a 6 in a 33 cage, the other 4 squares have to add up to 27. 9. So you'd have to have 9 and... Oh, hang on. Hang on, that doesn't... That's weird. Sorry, I should know this. I've just realised there are only 2 ways of making 33, aren't there? That is weird that I didn't know that. So it's either 98763 or it's 98754. So this 3, 6 is actually lovely. It forces this cage to be 3, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Which means these squares have to be 1, 2, 4 and 5. Which... does that do anything? I'm actually not sure it does. This square is interesting now, though. Actually, this square is fascinating because, look, because of the geometry of the cages, whatever goes in this square cannot be 4, 7, 8 or 9. This one because of the knight's move. And it can't be 1, 2, 4, 5. Because looking this way, it has the same effect because of the geometry. So this square is 3, 6. That's it. 1, 2, 4. Yes, only the 4 is a repeated digit, so there are 7 digits different. So there are only 2 digits left. This is a 3 or a 6, which... So maybe I should be highlighting 3s and 6s then. Is that tempting? It might be tempting to do that, you know. I'm going to do it. 3 or 6, I shall make that one orange. So this one is orange. This one is in the same cage as the blue 3 the blue 3 or 6. So this one's orange. This is blue. Oh, no, you are kidding me. Yes, orange 3 and 6 now looks to me like it has to go in the 19 cage. let me just check this. This is a knight's move away, so yeah, it's this one forces it into the 19 cage. This one, the blue 3 or 6, forces it into the 19 cage as well. So we now know the 19 cage has 3 and 6 in it, and 1. So it's now got 10 in 3 cells. It needs 2 more cells that add up to 9. That can't be 1 8 or 3. Can't be 1 8 or 3 6. So it's 2 7 or 4 5. Which, well, I tell you one thing that means. There's no 8 or 9 in here. So there's 8s and 9s are in those cells. Which might matter. No, not quite. What can I do with that? What does it matter that this is 8 or 9? I suppose it matters for that square, doesn't it? Same thing as this square. Right, come on, use your brain, Simon. So this square is now quite restricted. It can't be 1, 2, 4, 5. I think it can be 3. I think it can be 6. I think it can be 7, but it can't be 8 or 9. So this square has become a little bit restricted. It could sort of want it to be a blue 3 or 6. Wanting Sudoku digits to be things I found is not profitable in terms of solving the puzzles. There's a 3 or 6 here. I don't think I know its colour though, which is incredibly irritating. This square sees both blue and orange, so that can't be 3 or 6. Not yet put an 8 or a 9 in row 7. Ooh, that can't be an 8. This can't be 8 or 9 because it sees both of those by knight's move. That can be. Ah! The 10 cage can't have 8 or 9 in it. You can't put 8 or 9 in a 3-cell 10 cage. So 8 and 9 in this row can only go there and there, I think. And I can colour them. Good. This must be a green one. Therefore, this is a purple one. Beautiful. Beautiful. Look at purple. Where does the purple one go in this box now? Can't be here. Can't be here because that's a knight's move away from itself. Can't be here because it's a knight's move away from that. This square is purple. Now look at the central box. Where does purple go? Not here, it's a knight's move away. Not here, it's a knight's move away. It goes there. So that's an 8 or a 9. That's an 8 or a 9. Come on, this is too beautiful for it not to do anything. It's... Oh, come on. So one of these two squares is green. One of these two squares is green. Oh dear. Okay. What? What am I missing? I feel like that's... it doesn't matter what I feel like. I haven't... Oh, I've got a 1, 2, 4, 5 quadruple in this column. So the other squares in this square in particular has to be 3, 6, 7, 8 or 9 and can't be 3 or 6. So that's 7, 8 or 9. Now if it saw, it doesn't quite see green. It doesn't see green. Maybe I need to focus. Purple. Ah, no. This is an 8 or a 9, so this has to be quite. These digits have to be quite low. Even if this is 8, these can only be 1, 2, 3, or 4. Oh, I've got an 8, 9 pair in this column. Gosh. Sorry, that's a 7 therefore. That gets me digit alert. I've got a digit, yes. Now I've got an 8, 9 here in a row with a purple, so that's green. That's the most useless green cell, isn't it? This can't be 7 anymore though, and that means that one has become green. Now, where does green go in box 6? Only here, because of the knight's move constraint ruling it out of that one. That's green, which means this is an 8 or a 9. Let's get rid of some of the pencil marks now, because this domino, I don't think we know what goes into it. Is that true? This can't be 4. So this domino is whatever doesn't go into the 19 cage. And we know the 19 cage is missing 2 cells that sum to 9. So this is either a 4-5 pair or it's a 2-7 pair. There's probably a way of working out. 4. 4 is interesting in the central box. 4 can't go there by SUDOKU and can't go here because it would rule 4 out of both of those squares. So there is a 4 in one of those two positions. Now, look at this. There's a little trick. 4 is in one of those two. So you can never put 4 here, because it would see that one by knight's move and that one by SUDOKU. So this isn't 4, which means there's a 4 in one of those two squares, which means that square is a 5. Which means that square is a 5. This 4 is fixing that that one's a 4 now. This 4 sees this by knight's move, so this one is a 4. We can get rid of the 4 from there. Now, yes, now where does 4 go in box 6? Dup, dup. And this one sees that by knight's move. It's got to go here, which is in the 19 cage. So the 19 cage now is 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, and 6, which does add to 19. I was sorry, I was just checking. 1, 3, 5, and 6. Those can't be 5. These have to be a 2-7 pair. That sees that square, and this does become a 3-6, and it's not orange, so that's blue. This 2-7 means that's not 7. That gives me the colour of that. That's a green one. This is 7 by SUDOKU, look, because this 7, 8, 9 cage now has, we've got 2 8s and 9s in it, so this has become a 7. That's not a 7 up there. Where does 7 go in row 7 of the grid now? This 7's ruling it out of that square. I think it's got to go here. That's its only option. This square's got to be a 1, 2, or a 5 to complete the row. Okay, and we take stock again. Seven maybe? Can we do anything with 7 in box? 7's got to be in one of 3 positions. Don't think it does anything. Happy to be proved wrong, but... Oh, 5 has to be in one of those 2 squares because it can't be here. So it's not there. So 5 is in one of these 2 squares in row 7, so it's not here. Like, oh, which I could have got just using the 5. Gosh, Simon. Ah, dear. 5 up here. 7 in those 2 cells. Okay. There's a green in one of those 2 cells. Can we go... There's a green in one of those 2 squares. I'm not sure whether I should be looking at... I'm not sure which colour is the best place to focus here. This square sees all of those, actually. So that square might be restricted. Actually, that square might very well be restricted. It can't be 1, 2 or 5, or 4, or 3 or 6, or 8 or 9. That has to be 7, doesn't it? I'm just going to double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 here, 5, 6, 7 is fine, 8 and 9. This is a 7, it's a naked single. Jeepers creepers, that wasn't that easy to see. Does the 2 give us anything? No, it doesn't see any of those now. You rotten thing. 2 has got to be... Okay, yeah, this is interesting. 2 can't be here, so it has to be in one of those 2 squares. Now, it can't be here because it would rule 2 out of both of those. So, in fact, that is a 2, which means that's a 1 and that's a 2 using the knight's move. Now, 1 gets ruled out of there, so this becomes a 1. There's probably a lot of tidying up of pencil marks that's possible. These can't be 2s, look. 1 must be here in box 8. This is 2, this is 5. That gives us a 2 in a 10 cage. So those 2 squares have got to add up to 8. Ah, and they can't be 1, 7, and they can't be 2, 8. 2, 6, sorry. So they've got to be 3, 5. And the 5 here tells us the order. 5, 3, 6. Blue is 6. Okay, so blue, which means orange is 3, and we get a few more digits. This square is a 5, just because it's the only digit that can go there. 5 is now ruled out of all 3 of those cells, and therefore appears in one of those 2 positions, which locks it out of here. 5 goes there. I've got an 8-9 pair here, so I can do some I can do some tidying up in this column. Get rid of the 6s as well. Okay, now 3 comes out of there. There's a lot of tidying up that's possible, isn't there? 6 comes out of here. I've got a 1-3 pair in row 5. This 3 rules a 3 out of both of those squares. 5 by knight's move comes out of that one. 1-6 pair gives us that this one is a 3. This one must be a 5. That's a 2, that's a 1. This is a 3 by Sudoku, that's a 6. That must be a 5 to complete the shenanigans going on in box 4. These squares are not... Oh, these squares are not 2 and 3. That's huge. Okay, so I can see now this cage is probably in here to help disambiguate this 8-9 combination, and that's going to go through the grid in a rather nice way. This has become a 5, adding up to 1 and 4, adding up to 5. So this is 8, which means green is 8, purple is 9. 6 here sees this one by knight's move, so that's got to be a 1-6 pair. 1 has to appear in one of those two squares. Can't be here. 1 has to be here. So that's just using the knight's move constraint to rule it out of that one, and SUDOKU to rule it out of that one. This 1 sees the 1 and the 4. This column needs a 2 in it. This box needs 5, 6, and 9. 5, yeah, okay, 5. 5, 6, and 9. So now this column needs 3 and 4. Don't think anything's seeing those by knight's move, but 2 and 9 here. The 2 is seeing this square, so that's 2, that's 9. 9 gets ruled out of some cells up there. Okay, let's have a look at this column. What do we need there? We need 1 and 4. 4 is here, so that's got to be 1. That's got to be 4. So this needs 2, 4, and 6. Yeah, there's a 4 here. That's helpful. Fixes the 4 and the 3. Gives us the 7 here. Gives us the 3 down there. One of those is a 6. One of those is a 2. Yeah, 2. So the 2 and the 6 go like that. This becomes a 3. I'm hoping this row is done. Yeah, that's got to be 8. That's got to be 6. Assuming my pencil marks are right, which is, I'm trusting my SUDOKU life to my pencil marks, which is a precarious position to be in. This is a 6, 7 pair, so we can remove 6, 7, and 3 from here. 8, 9, the 9 here helps us out. Isn't it clever? It really is just stunning, isn't it? And now 1, 7, 8 here we can do. So 1, 7, 8. So the 8, the 7, 7, the 6, the 6, the 9. Click, tick. And it looks good to the computer, so that's good enough for me. I hope that there are no cells linked by knight's moves. I did try and avoid that. That was the idea of the puzzle, and what a puzzle it was. Just a pleasure to solve, and very, very clever the way, in particular, this 23 cage, basically, it was like playing ping pong with SUDOKU, because we realised that 1s, 2s, and 3s were sort of limited, or 1s, 2s, were limited in these squares, but the fact there had to be a 1 and a 2 in the 23 cage allowed us to get this 1-2 pair. But then knowing that there was a 3 in here was beautiful, because it locked a 3 into one of those, which gave us the composition of this 33 cage, which gave us this being a 4-5, which then backed into the 23 cage again and forced the 4 down here, which fixed the 17 cage. I mean, as I'm restating this, I hope everyone can see just how clever this is. It is just ridiculous. And then once you get the composition of the 17 cage, you can then narrow down the digits that are missing from the 23 cage. You know it's missing 5, 8, and 9, and that helped us get the whole of that fixed. And then about half an hour later, I managed to solve the puzzle. Magnificent. Let me know in the comments how you got on, and we'll be back later, of course, with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.